As we have been discussing, the president's longtime associate, Roger Stone, was in court today after his arrest on Friday in Florida. Stone says he is not ruling out cooperating with the Russia investigation, but rejects charges he lied to Congress. We spoke to former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie about the mounting number of former Trump associates facing charges in the special counsel's Russia investigation.
Because they're not good people, and bad people lie. I don't think it proves anything about collusion. I don't think there is any evidence of it. And I said, you know, when I was involved, I just didn't see a group that was organized enough. They were still trying to figure out how to hire field reps in Pennsylvania, let alone run a Tom Clancy operation with the Russians. These are just not good people, and I talk about that in the book. You know, he got talked into a lot of people that just did not deserve his trust. And it wasn't that he wasn't warned. I mean, I talked to him extensively about Mike Flynn in particular, who I thought was a problem from the moment I met him, and now has the shortest tenure of any national security advisor in history. So, listen, when you're president, you can only do so much, but garbage in, garbage out. And if you put bad people around you who are not prepared for prime time, you're not going to get good results, no matter how the president operates. When I was governor, I needed a good staff. When you're president, in the same way, you need a good staff.
So he doesn't. Governor, you've said a lot of really nice things about the president in the book, and not so nice about the people surrounding him. Yep. But you know, you talk about in the book a speech that the president made talking about you, saying that you knew about the road closures on the George Washington Bridge, Bridgegate, which was like a very big deal for you. And then later getting a phone call. You said that was a lie. You knew nothing about it.
Yeah, it is
and then
a lie.
Later getting a phone call from Corey Lewandowski, basically saying Mr. Trump apologizes for that. Yep. But he lied in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, he did.
And this is something that he's been accused of throughout his presidency. Is the president an honest man? Listen,
in my dealings with him, the majority of the time, he's been an honest guy. Now, in that instance, I raised that instance in the book to show two things. One, about how intense these campaigns get. And he was angry because I'd gotten the Manchester Union leader endorsement. He wanted it. And so he wanted to lash out. Inappropriate to do. And I called him on it that night. He did that in the afternoon. That night, I went after him. In a really aggressive way. No, I didn't. Right. What I said at the time was that Mexico was never going to pay for any wall. I think it turned out to be right. So in the end, you know, what I wanted to point out, though, was that he realized he had done something wrong. And not only did Lewandowski call my campaign manager, but then later that day, and I say this in the book, Donald Trump called me and said, listen, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. And let's not have any of this anymore, because we've known each other for too long to be engaging in this stuff. And I said, listen, if you don't lie about me, I have no reason to attack you. I'll just run my own campaign.
In the context of all these Pinocchio ratings that he gets, you know the list of sort of misleading statements that he's accused of making. You know, you got to wonder.
Well, listen, I think it shows you at times, and I say this in there, that one of his weaknesses is that he sometimes speaks on impulse and acts on impulse. And when you're in the real estate business, that's one thing. When you're president of the United States, it has a different impact and import. And so I don't think he's a dishonest person. I think sometimes, though, he acts on impulse. And I think when any of us act on impulse, it isn't always our best moment.
But, Governor, you were a former prosecutor, attorney general. Man Maria asked you about the president lying to the American people. You said in your interactions with him, he hasn't lied to you. But has he lied to the American people?
Well, listen, I mean, I think that anybody who's in public life, in political life, at times winds up, interpreting the truth the way they want to see it.
But the president can't go by the George Costanza rule. It's not a lie if you believe it. He's the president of the United States.
And I would never apply the George Costanza rule to the president of the United States. But what I'd say is that I think that people want to focus a lot on that, and I understand why. And he's got to be held to a high standard as president of the United States, and I think the media and others are holding him to that standard. And it's not like the American people aren't aware that, as I've said many times, the president is a salesman. At his core, he's a salesman, and he uses that kind of hyperbolic rhetoric that a salesman uses. And in the real estate business, nobody really was concerned nearly as much about that as you are when you're president. This is still a guy who's never held a position in public life before, who is still transitioning and learning, as he did just this past week on the government shutdown and having to, give in on the government shutdown. This is a different world. Politics and government is a much different world than New York real estate, and he's continuing to learn that. If he continues to get better at it, that's good for the country, because he's got to learn. And
how long do we give him, though?
Well, listen, 4 years. The American people give him 4 years. That's who they voted for. That I voted for him. That's who we elected. And by the way, as I say in the book, everybody knew who they were voting for. It isn't like he's acting completely differently now than he did during the campaign. It's pretty consistent. So it's not like you can say, oh, truth in advertising. He was tweeting all the time. He was using very inflammatory language. He was being very direct in saying what he was going to do. And let's face it, on things like trade and on immigration, he's done exactly what he said he was going to do. Now, some people like it and some people don't. But in terms of honesty, he said he was going to cut taxes, he has. He said he was going to cut regulation, he has. He said he was going to engage in a trade war, and he's doing it. He said he was going to try to toughen immigration laws, and he's done it.